This first section, I'm going to focus on the idea that an excellent teacher means being intentional. Intentionality is a very important focus of developmentally appropriate practice, and especially when it relates to mathematics teaching. It's purposeful. I plan. And to talk about this, I'd like to highlight some specific features of being intentional. They are considering the curriculum and tailoring it to children as individuals, and planning learning experiences. This first video clip focuses on the idea of being intentional. Let me tell you a little bit about the context of this activity called 5 Creatures. To talk about this tape, I first of all want to give you the context of this video clip, and then I will talk about 2 questions that I want you to keep focused. First of all, the context of this tape comes from a pre-kindergarten classroom. This happens at the beginning of the year, and it's a lesson that where I focus on numbers and operations. First of all, on the tape, you will see young children in a group activity with me as a whole group. They will be listening to the book 5 Creatures by Emily Jenkins. I will be asking them to think about number by using their fingers and by counting. I then will ask them to go back to their seats and work very carefully on a page about their family. They will be mapping their picture of their family with Unifix cubes, and in using one-to-one correspondence, they'll be putting the cubes on each figure in their picture. You will not see that part on the video clip, but what you will see will be when the children come back to the whole group and we start putting our pictures together. We will be putting them together in very special ways, and I think you'll be able to see that as you look at the video clip. Now, the 2 questions that I want you to focus on are as follows. First of all, how can teachers intentionally use literature to teach number concepts? I want you to be looking for that in this video clip. The second question, what evidence can you identify that tells you the teacher has intentionally planned this activity that connects literature and number concepts? After you view this video clip, please pause the DVD so that you can respond to any reflections you may have about this video.
5 creatures live in our house. 3 humans and 2 cats. Now wait a minute. 5 creatures live in Emily Jenkins' house. 3 humans. Could you show me 3 on your fingers? 1, 2, 3. 3 humans. And it says 2 cats. Could you make 3 humans and 2 cats for me like this? Would you put them together? Now they said 5. Let's see if it's 5. Check it with your chin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5? Okay. Do you know what a human is? That's us. You're a human. I'm a human. And 2 cats. That made 5. Did it make 6? Let's make sure. 3 humans. Everybody get 3 humans on your hand. And 2 cats. Now watch how Mrs. Copley does it. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just 5, isn't it? Yeah. You must have counted 1 twice, maybe. Oh, look at this one. This is funny. Look. 4 who like to eat fish, and 1 who doesn't. Who do you think likes to eat the fish? Who do you think, Chris?
The orange!
Orange cat. I think the orange cat does. I think the gray cat does too. And I think the mom and the dad, but maybe the little girl, she doesn't like to eat fish, doesn't look like. Well, let's see if that works. Now, we got to put 4 on one hand. Stack them up in a big column. Here we go. Stack them up. Stack them up. Oh boy. Now then put it right there by your picture and put your hands in your lap because we're going to do something very special. That's going to be a big book too.
That's got 3.
That's got 3 in it. This one has 4.
Now, John, please. Now,
John,
That one is doing the big.
Really,
All right. Come on up. Next one. Let's see. Where's this one going to go? Oh, my. Oh, look at you. Just knew that right away. What a brainy person you are.
Put it right there.
Put it right there. Oh, that book's going to have a page in it.
2.
Okay.
Now that you've seen the video clip of 5 creatures, let's talk about those questions. Question number 1. How can teachers intentionally use literature to teach number concepts? Well, I think you can see that I use many different ways of joining both literature and the number concepts together. First of all, we counted parts of the pictures in the book. If you saw the children using their fingers, we were taking the part-whole idea of number to do that. We visually modeled the quantity of 5 with fingers. I think you saw the young child that constantly used her fingers and was very interested in making sure that she made 5. We also then created books that illustrated the numbers of creatures in their own family. Let's look at the second question. What evidence can you identify that tells you the teacher has intentionally planned an activity that connects literature and number concepts? Well, through most of the tape, you could see children counting using that part-whole model and counting correctly. I think another important part was the way that we compared number quantity by using the Unifix cube tiles as they put them together and matched to see which had more and which had less. I would like to right now, though, talk to you about a few of my reflections. I used to use this book totally as a part-whole model for number. It's a concept that I think is very, very important. But I changed my mind about how to use it exactly when I was talking to my grandson one day. He was saying, "Mimi, I have lots of people in my family, and I have lots of cubes." And I thought about that a little bit and thought, boy, it would be good to use it as a comparing lesson, a very different objective than a part-whole idea. So based on that comment, I changed this lesson to be one that the children would actually use Unifix cubes and put them in towers so that they could compare number. And I changed the objective much more than I had before. Again, I listened to a child. This time it happened to be my grandson, to change the perspective of this lesson. This next video clip is really a combination of 2 different classrooms. The title of this is Watering Hole. Watering Hole is actually a measurement lesson, but it also involves more than measurement. It involves thinking conceptually about number. It involves a great deal of thinking about reasoning and being able to reason and put your ideas together. I decided to show you 2 video clips. One that was done in pre-kindergarten with 4-year-olds, and the second one that is done with first graders, typically 6-year-olds. I want you to see the differences in these 2 tapes. Now let me first of all give you an explanation of the context. The context, the idea of the lesson, is that children are predicting how many drinks of water animals would get from the watering hole. This is a lesson that I explained in the chapter on measurement in the book, The Young Child in Mathematics. But I want to really show you what it looks like. In the first little part, you're going to see pre-kindergartners estimating, using again Unifix cubes, to see how many drinks of water a caterpillar would get. Well, unfortunately, a caterpillar goes very, very slowly, and in the time allotted, the children will see that I only get 0 drinks of water. I want you to watch them as they change their predictions while I'm moving toward the watering hole as a caterpillar. Next, you're going to see these pre-kindergartners are going to pretend to be frogs, and they're going to be going to the watering hole. Again, the children will be estimating how many drinks of water they can get from the watering hole if they are frogs. The next little section will involve the first graders. And in this section, the first graders are butterflies. And they are going to be flying back and forth and being able to get drinks of water from the watering hole. Again, the first graders are going to be estimating how many drinks of water they can get. You are going to see a difference, I believe, in the way they estimate. Finally, you're going to listen to a discussion that I have with the first graders about their estimations and what are the variables that are involved in their estimations. As you look at this video clip, there are again 2 questions that I want you to focus on. The first question is, how is the lesson in pre-kindergarten different than the lesson in first grade? The second question says, what evidence did you have that the teacher considered the curriculum and tailored it to children as individuals? After you view this video clip, please pause the DVD so that you can respond to any reflections you may have about this video.
And you have to decide how many drinks of water do you think I'm going to get?
4.
So however many, if you think 4, Crystal, you put 4 out here and put the others behind your back. So everybody right now, decide how many drinks of water you think I'm going to get. Put that out in front. Put your others behind you. Put the others behind you. Put out, do you think I'm going to get 20 drinks of water? Okay, put out how many you think. Well, if you think I'm going to get just 1, you put it out here. To get a lot of drinks of water. This will be good. Are you ready?
Set, go.
Go. Oh, look at them go. Oh, goodness. These are fast frogs. Oh, good. Oh, my goodness, John, you are excellent. Give me your drink of water. Then go back and get some more. Keep going. Give me your drink. Pretending to be frogs. We had one frog that was pretending to be. Oh, good. Give me a drink. Oh, keep going. Keep going. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. You think
And stop.
Okay, stop. If you have one in your hand, bring it to me, frogs. Oh, I can't wait to see how many this is. This is so cool. Frogs, will you turn around, please, and bow? Turn around. Everybody give them a hand.
Let's see.
All right, you ready? I'm going to put them together, and we're going to see. Leave
Don't
it there.
Don't change your answer. Let's check.
Let's check.
Let's check and see.
All right. Oh, my goodness.
Oh no. Let's see.
Oh, you thought, see, Ramon thought it was both of these. Oh my. That was a lot more than they got, wasn't it? And you thought there was, that's too little. You were a frog. What did you think, Javon? Was this what you thought? Oh my goodness. That was way too much, wasn't it? Way too much. And did you think this? Oh, just a little bit too much. And you know, some people are changing it, and it's okay. I'm not as worried about it. But do you see that we need to, oh, look at this one. Thank you. This was too little, wasn't it? Those frogs were faster than we thought. Graceful they are, slowly. Oh my goodness. Oh, very graceful. Oh, yes, and they gracefully, they may go back and forth. Oh, yes. Very nice. And they're going to go back. Oh, some of them may land on someone and stay there for a bit. Very nice. Oh, they're so graceful. Look at what graceful butterflies we have.
Just give more than one.
Time is up. Time is up. So come on back here, butterflies. Let's come here and give me your butterflies and turn around and bow. They did a beautiful job. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Nice job. I need butterflies. Thank you. All right, you want to see how many they got? Let's look. Let's look. Oh, they did pretty well because there were 5 of them. 5 of them. Okay, put your broads down. Let me check and see. I'm going to start on this side this time. Oh, just a little too small, not much. I think that's exactly the same. A little bit smaller. Exactly the same. Wow, exactly the same. Boy, I think our estimations are getting better. Listen to this question. I noticed, and I guess it was Micah that noticed, that 4 frogs got about the same number of drinks, it was within one, as the 5 butterflies. And I would think the butterflies, because there's 5, they would get more. Why did they get about the same? That's the question I have. Can anybody help me with that?
I know.
Put your hands up. I want to see as many people as possible that have an idea. Why would they do that? Yes, ma'am.
I think it's because there was like more than there was 4 the first time and there was 5 the second time.
Yeah, but the 4 got the same number as the 5. I would think the 5 would have gotten more than the 4, wouldn't you think? Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I think because the butterflies were slower than the frogs.
Well, they were. The butterflies were slower. You guys were slower, weren't you?
Yeah.
And then you guys were faster.
Yes.
So even though there was 5, oh, then, so you have to, oh my goodness, you have to pay attention to how fast they're going as well as how many, don't you? This is hard, isn't it?
No.
Oh, wait till you see the next one. Put your rods.
Well, let's talk about the questions first on the watering hole. First question, how is the lesson in pre-kindergarten different than the lesson in first grade? Well, I hope that you saw that the estimation strategies used by the pre-kindergartners and the first graders were very different. I loved watching the pre-kindergartners because they just kind of lumped those cubes together, and I hope you noticed that they changed them as they saw me not move very quickly. In fact, it was kind of interesting with the pre-kindergartners. They had a whole long pile of Unifix cubes, and then as the tape progressed, most of those disappeared. The first graders were a little different when they estimated. They looked at the number of frogs or the number of butterflies, and they put that specific number down first, and they really estimated in groups using much more reasoning strategies, which you would assume. I think also you probably noticed that my ideas and my questions differed. With the young children, I was interested in just saying whether they estimated too much or too little. But when I looked at the first graders, we had many more types of questions that would be much more detailed and require much more reasoning. Now let's look at the second question. The second question says, what evidence did you have that the teacher considered the curriculum and tailored it to children as individuals? In the second question, I really knew a lot about children's development, and I knew something about the curriculum and how it would pertain to this activity. For pre-kindergarten children, it's very important that they just think about number as a whole and that certain numbers are more and certain numbers are less. I was just looking at general comparison terms. For first graders, I really wanted them to think about the number of animals that were going across and how many drinks of water they would get in the time allotted. I also was able to ask some different questions. In my personal reflections on this particular activity, I was so excited to see that Micah had asked that question about, but don't they go different times or aren't they about the same? Because I could really concentrate on the variables. I could talk about the fact that if you had to stop or if there were a certain number of animals that were moving, how would that affect the estimation? I was able to really get at some of the reasoning that they would do, and it really made for, I think, an exciting lesson. The other part that I think is important with this is that in many ways this was an algebra lesson, at least for the first graders. They had to think about it in terms of how the variables would affect the time that it took for those animals to get the drinks of water. All in all, it was a lesson that I enjoyed, and I hope you did too. The next example that illustrates being intentional is a video clip that I title Sand Babies. Again, there are some questions I'd like you to consider, but let me just briefly give you the context. This lesson was done with pre-kindergarten children. First of all, I worked with just individual children, 1 or 2, to make their sand babies. Sand babies, by definition, are the babies that are made out of sand that weigh exactly the same as they did when they were babies. So I got, first of all, their birth weights as well as their lengths when they were born. The children filled up their bags to make sure that they weighed about the same as their birth weight. Then, after they had made their babies, we worked together as a whole class and read a book that we used to talk about what they were like when they were a baby and now what they are like when they are older. In many ways, this is a measurement lesson. I was trying to illustrate the terms heavier than and lighter than. But also, this is a lesson really that involves algebra concepts, because algebra for a young child talks about what they were like before and then qualitatively or quantitatively talks about what they're like as they grow older, that idea of change. In the video clip you're going to see, there's going to be 2 questions I would like you to focus on. First of all, what evidence do you see that indicates intentional and purposeful planning? And then I'd like you to look at what specific connections do you see between mathematics and literacy concepts and mathematics and social emotional development. After you view this video clip, please pause the DVD so that you can respond to any reflections you may have about this video.
You're going to put 7 pounds of sand in here, and we're going to wrap it up real tight. And you're going to make a baby.
A baby?
With a face and a blanket.
Blanket?
Yeah, just like how much you weighed when you were a baby.
Daddy
And then you're going to
baby.
You're going to
My daddy was a baby.
Was your daddy a baby once too? Mm-hmm. Mrs. Copley was a baby once.
And my sister was a baby too.
Yeah.
When I was born, when I was a baby.
You were a baby when you were born too.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I can't stand up.
You couldn't stand up. No, you had to know how long you were.
Yeah.
And I also know how long you were, so we're going to figure that out too. Isn't that fun? Mm-hmm. And tomorrow, and today you're going to make your baby, and then we're going to get to play a game with it tomorrow when you get to hold your own baby. That I'm big, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to look through the book, because in the book I have pages for each one of you. And I have a picture of you.
Isaac.
That happens to be Isaac, but I've got one for everybody. And on one side of the page it says, when I was little, and you're going to put something down here, a picture or a story or something about when you were a baby. And then now I am big. And now you're going to put a picture of what you're doing now, what you can do now. So we're going to get some ideas about that first. And I have a page for each one of you. That's why I took your picture yesterday. So you'll have that to show us. Can I hold your baby? What I'd like to do is I'd like you to tell me about your picture so I can write about it. Alexis, when you were little, what is this a picture of? Are you sleeping in a crib? Okay. I slept in a crib. Right? Now, now, Alexis, let me get this one first, Zoe, and I'll be right over, okay?
I have a sticker.
Now I am big. What do you do? Now I'm big. You're jumping on the bed.
I'm jumping on the bed.
I jump.
Let's talk about the first question that that you might have reflected on as you looked at sand babies. What evidence do you see that indicates intentional and purposeful planning? I think most of you could see that in this particular activity, it took a lot of planning ahead of time. I had to plan materials, the use of materials, and I had to think about how best I could have the children make those sand babies. Certainly that can't be done in a whole group and needed to be done in small groups or in groups of partners, as you saw. Also, as I was planning this, I needed to think about what way would be the very best to really make a book with the children. So I took pictures of them and included that in part of their page. It took a great deal of purposeful and intentional planning to set this particular activity up. The second question, what specific connections do you see between mathematics and literacy concepts, and then between mathematics and social emotional development? I knew that when I included this book that I used in this section, that it would be very, very important to have their books follow that same pattern. When I was young, I did this, and now that I'm older, I do this. That really brought children's experiences and connected those experiences to the mathematics that I was trying to teach. I also knew ahead of time that this particular activity would really connect well to social emotional development. I think I was very surprised when we did this activity at how much it connected. The boys and the girls both just love sharing their babies and letting other people feel their babies. I loved hearing the connections that the children used between mathematics when they said, "I'm heavier than you are," or "I'm lighter than you are." If I think about my reflections on this particular session, one thing I noticed is that the children needed a lot more work with the ideas of heavier than and lighter than. They would use their words when they were holding their babies, but often incorrectly. So later on, I decided to include a lot more things that the children could touch and hold and talk about whether they were heavier or lighter. We measured fruit. We did all kinds of things where I brought in very large watermelons and brought in very small oranges, and we tried to see which ones were heavier and which ones were lighter. I realized that this activity was just a beginning, and there was a lot more that they needed to do. Finally, I wanted to really illustrate the idea of how heavy they were now compared to when they were a baby. I didn't want to walk around picking up children. That would not be good. But instead I brought in a bag of sand that was 50 pounds, which was close to what many of them were at that time. And I brought that bag of sand in, and it was just amazing the way they watched me pick it up, and they tried to pick it up and realized that that bag of sand was heavy and much heavier than their babies.